Hi class. I've had a couple of requests to go over some of these exponent problems this week. So I've decided to do number 7 from exercise 3.3 part B. So some of you may have already done this, some it's coming up still, but I know at the exam this week there's been a few questions on exponents and stuff, so I thought this would be a good problem because it really covers almost all all parts of simplifying exponents and combining them and everything. Um, so number 7 is 15 times c to the negative 7 times d to the third all over, I forgot the 35, there's actually supposed to be a 35 there, sorry. 35 times c to the fifth times d to the 7, and then this is all in brackets or parentheses, and it's all raised to the negative third. So let's walk through this step by step. If you go back to PEMDAS, the first step would be to simplify your parentheses. And then once you simplify your what's inside the parentheses, then you can work on getting this exponent out. You could put this in first, but it would just complicate things, so I recommend simplifying the inside first. So one thing that I kind of, when I see this problem, the first thing I kind of envision is these are all being multiplied together. So I rewrite this and I put the same terms kind of over each other. So I've got 15 over 35 times c to the negative 7th all over c to the 5th times d to the third all over d to the 7th, and then that's still all being multiplied by negative 3. Now I haven't simplified anything. All I've done here is broken it apart so I could visually see it easier. Because now I can look at this and say, okay, I'm going to simplify this fraction and this fraction and this fraction. And since they're all being multiplied, it is saying the same thing as what's above, just kind of separated out a little bit. So first thing I look at is my 15 over 35. And I say, oh, those are both divisible by 5, so I can just simplify this fraction and it becomes 3 over 7. Now I see that I've got these the variable c raised to power, so I know I can combine these. And the rule for dividing exponents is you subtract them. So it's going to become c, and it's going to be negative 7 minus 5, which ends up being negative 12. And I'm not going to put this in fraction form yet, and you'll see why in a little bit. And then I multiply that by d to the 3 minus 7 again, just like c, so I subtract when I'm dividing there. So I get d, 3 minus 7 is negative 4. Now this is all being raised to the negative third still. So now I've simplified inside my parentheses. Now I'm going to go ahead and distribute that negative 3 to each one of these. So I get 3/7 to the negative third times negative 12 times negative 3 is positive, because negative times a negative is positive, positive 36, so c to the 36, and then negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12, so I get d to the 12. So here's just a reminder of the rule here. So when I'm distributing this outside exponent into parentheses, I multiply them by each of the exponents, not add them. I only add them if two similar things are being multiplied together. So if I had like a c times a c, then I would add the exponents. When it's being raised, you multiply it in and you multiply the exponents. And now I can further simplify this a little bit more. This right here is a correct statement, but we want to actually get rid of our exponent here, so we're going to distribute that negative 3. So what that ends up being is, since it's negative 3 and it's a fraction, you end up flipping that fraction. So it's this, to get rid of the negative, you say 7/3 to the positive 3, and then it's still c 36 d 12. I'm not going to be able to do anything more with this c and d because there's no other c's and d's. So those are just going to stay that way, and I'm just going to work on simplifying this. So now I distribute that, I raise this to the third power, and what I end up getting is 343. I'm going to bring this up over here, so running out of space. So I end up 343 all over 27. times c to the 36 times d to the 12th. And there's our final answer. So you'll see in the answer key they write it as 343 C36 D12 all over 27, and that's the same thing, because really when we have these you could say these are all over 1, and so it'd be like 27 times 1 times 1, which is just 27. So this is what it's going to look like in the answer key. I simply break it apart like that just for visual, being able to kind of distinguish. Sometimes when you see lots of different variables, it gets really confusing. So that's just a little tip that I have for you there. So the key things to remember here is don't forget to do your PEMDAS. Do inside the parentheses first. It'll make it easier on yourself. You could have, you still could have ended up with the correct answer if you would have distributed that -3 into the parentheses first hand, but that would have just been a ton more reduction and figuring out what 15 cubed is and all that. So make it easy on yourself. Do inside the parentheses first, and then work on simplifying from there. So I hope this has helped. If you have any further questions, feel free to post on the discussion board. I'm happy to maybe make 1 or 2 more tutorials that help you prepare for the exam this week. I can promise you are going to see some of this on the exam, not necessarily this exact problem, but you will see this. Make sure that you're comfortable with being able to combine exponents and know the exponent rules. So anyways, have a great rest of your week.